The biggest moment of March Madness 2026 wasn't a buzzer beater. It was what followed immediately after. Dan Hurley ended up face-to-face with a referee in a forehead-to-forehead collision that instantly took over the internet. Some called it celebration. Others called it confrontation. But everyone agreed it was a defining snapshot of one of the sport's most intense personalities. It happened during the Elite Eight in Washington, D.C., where UConn Huskies were battling Duke Blue Devils. For most of the night, Duke controlled everything, stretching the lead to nearly 19 points and leaving UConn's hopes on life support. Fans were already writing the ending. But Hurley doesn't do endings. What followed was chaos disguised as greatness. A freshman named Breelon Mullins drilled a ridiculous 30-plus foot shot with under a second left, flipping the game instantly. The arena exploded. UConn won 73-72. Final Four secured. Pure collapse turned into pure magic. In the aftermath, emotion spilled everywhere. Hurley sprinted the sideline, jacket half falling off, eyes wild, completely consumed by adrenaline. Then came the split-second moment. He moved in close with referee Roger Ayers, so close that cameras caught what looked like a head-to-head clash. The internet erupted. Headlines called an attack. Clips went viral instantly. But the full picture told a different story. Ayers, a veteran official with multiple Final Four assignments, later described it as nothing unusual, just noise, confusion, and celebration mixed together. He didn't even recognize it as controversy at first. In his view, nothing happened beyond chaos and excitement. Hurley's own explanation matched that. In the deafening roar, he thought Ayers was moving in to celebrate the shot. Ayers was actually trying to communicate the final clock situation. In an arena that loud, getting close isn't aggression, it's survival, just to be heard. And no technical foul, no punishment, no disciplinary fallout, just a viral clip. And that's what made it explode even more, because this wasn't random. It fit perfectly into the long, well-known story of Hurley's sideline intensity, a career defined by fire, emotion, and moments that blur the line between passion and volatility. That single forehead moment didn't create his reputation. It just reminded everyone why it already existed.
It's a zero-sum game. The one that wins is going to have temporary relief.
For Dan Hurley, every game feels like Judgment Day. A loss isn't just a loss, it's proof of doubt creeping in. In the heat of the moment, even a bad call can feel bigger than it is, like it's threatening the entire story he's trying to build around his name and legacy. That context doesn't excuse his reactions. He'd be the first to admit that, but it does explain them in a way no viral clip ever could. He's been open about it too, the pressure, the anxiety, the grind from Jersey City to the top, all laid out in Never Stop. And when he speaks on it, the honesty hits hard, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore.
This is where my day starts.
To ease Dan's churning mind, Andrea designed a private basement sanctuary.
He didn't want to write a championship memoir. He wanted to write something useful, something for the people who are struggling personally, professionally, in their families, the way he struggled.
Take my Bible out, I'll pray, and then I'll do some meditation.
Legacy. For Dan Hurley, basketball was never just a game, it was a family empire he had to live inside. His father was a Hall of Fame coach. His brother, Bobby Hurley, was a college legend. And that's where the problem began. Because instead of inspiration, it became pressure, the kind that slowly crushes your identity. At Seton Hall, that pressure turned into something brutal. Fans didn't just expect greatness, they demanded he match a standard he didn't create. The Hurley standard wasn't a compliment anymore. It was a comparison he could never win. Even his own crowd sometimes turned on him, chanting Bobby's better, while he was trying to play through the noise, the expectations, and his own collapsing confidence. And it got ugly fast. He wasn't just missing shots.
Hurley.
You've talked about being the third Hurley.
You know, just how I failed to play up to, live up to, succeed up to.
Flipping. The game that once felt natural became a mental battlefield. The weight of his last name turned every possession into judgment. By December 1993, it hit a break.
You know, the Hurley standard in basketball was, it caused a lot of pain.
Fans piled on, sometimes chanting, Bobby's better.
Bobby's
He
better.
needed distance just to breathe again. He returned later, but something had changed permanently. The joy didn't fully come back. The game stayed, but the freedom left.
It gets to the point where you're a shell of yourself. You're not shooting the ball the way you have your whole life. You have a hard time catching the ball or even dribbling the ball.
So from that broken version, he turned pain into fuel. The same pressure that once shattered his confidence became the engine behind his coaching identity. Intensity wasn't a style, it was survival. Fast forward decades, and he's no longer the kid trapped in comparison. He's a championship coach, a national force, a man with a $50 million contract and multiple...
I got to make up for what I didn't achieve as a player, and I got to make up for that right now as a coach, because my career eats away at me still.
Sideline moments that showed just how emotionally invested he still is in every possession. But the past never fully leaves. Because even at the peak after the trophies, after the fame, after the validation, he has admitted something deep.
Still.
It bothers me. If I see a picture of myself with the Seton Hall uniform or a clip, there's an embarrassment about how that went.
And so
he said in different ways over the years, not as a slogan, but as a burden he still carries into every game he coaches. And that's what makes a story hit differently. He doesn't coach like someone performing a job. He coaches like someone rewriting a past that never sat right with him. Every timeout, every sideline explosion, every demand for perfection, it all traces back to a younger version of himself who couldn't escape the weight of a name too big to outrun. So when people see him pacing, shouting, burning with intensity, it's easy to call it emotion or competitiveness. But underneath it is something deeper, a lifelong conversation between who he was expected to be and who he's still trying to prove he could have been. And maybe that's the real truth of the Hurley story. Some legacies don't just shape your career.
So, for me, I think there's a lot of people in the world that, that are struggling personally, struggling professionally, struggling with family life.
And yes, this is the same Dan Hurley who went face-to-face with a ref in the middle of a tournament celebration. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. He's not some caricature or villain. And he's not just the ref guy. Coaching became his outlet, the place he poured everything he never got to fully express as a player. And sometimes that intensity spills over. Even his rituals tell the same story. The lucky underwear, the exact 8 M&Ms with certain colors removed, the mandatory half-court shots before practice, the sage, the holy water, even garlic tucked under the bleachers. It might look wild on the surface, but it's not madness. It's management. Because underneath all of it is pressure that never shuts off, the kind where one whistle, one miss, one split-second moment can flip an entire season.
I still struggle with anxiety before the game. Night before a game is really tough to sleep. You wake up on game day, and you feel a little bit like death when you wake up.
A little bit like death. That is how this man, 2-time national champion, Namath Coach of the Year, man who turned down the Los Angeles Lakers, describes waking up on game days. The pit in the stomach never goes away. Not after the champ.
And for me, prayer, meditation, the underwear, the M&Ms, mushroom coffee.
Certain color
the aromatherapy before the game, all these things, it's like my shield.
Armor. That's the word Dan Hurley keeps circling back to. The routines, the edge, the sideline clashes. Even those bold claims of refs about being the best, none of it is random. It's protection. A shield against the very real fear of coming up short. And here's what the internet misses. While looping the viral moments, it's not hurting him. Not even close. At UConn Huskies, his resume is stacked. A dominant record, multiple Final Four runs, back-to-back national titles, and a pipeline of players to the league. He even walked away from a massive offer from the Los Angeles Lakers just to stay and build something bigger in college. That's not chaos, that's control. That intensity, it's not a weakness. It's the engine. Even Hurley admits it can spill over, but he also knows the truth is his edge and his team feeds off it. Call it what you want, but he calls it a superpower. And when you watch his squad erase a massive deficit against the top seed in the Elite 8 purely...
Fire! Fire! Try to make a play on the twin! Try to get the edge!
The next morning on Get Up, Dan Hurley looked drained but locked and still processing, yet already shaping the version of himself he wants the world to see. Measured, precise, respectful to his opponent, proud of his squad without downplaying their grind. Never stop competing. For most, that's just a slogan. For Hurley, it's his life story. From chasing out his brother's shadow as a kid, to a playing career that cracked under pressure, to grinding through stops at Wagner, Rhode Island, and UConn Huskies, he's always had something to prove, especially to himself. And yeah, that fire doesn't always stay contained. Sometimes it's forehead to forehead with a ref in a roaring arena. Sometimes it's him declaring his own greatness mid-timeout. Sometimes it costs him a $25,000 fine and a public statement from the league. But that same fire also builds banners, fuels Final Four runs, and ends with moments like a kid from Indiana drilling a deep buzzer beater to carry a program back to glory. The clips go viral. The arguments explode. The takes get loud, wild, even funny. And Hurley? Still wired, still superstitious, still coaching to the chaos because at his core, that's all he's ever known how to do. Love this video? Again, thanks for watching full video, and subscribe for more content like this.